Hey, this is Jim at Broadfield. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Broadfield Live. I love it when we get the opportunity to have guests in studio with us. Chris Burgos from Elgato. Chris, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jim. And that's some new word you're saying there. Chris Burgos with Elgato.
Chris Burgos with Elgato. Some of our dealers might recognize Chris from all of his time with BizRT and New Tech. We're happy to have him on board. We're happy to have Elgato on board in our warehouses here at Broadfield. We have inventory in both New York and LA. We're going to talk about the Stream Deck Studio a little bit today and some exciting new bundles. We'll get started here in just a few seconds. Obviously, if you have questions on any of the Elgato products, you can reach out to your Broadfield sales rep at 800-634-5178. We've all gone through training with Chris and Vivian at Elgato. We're happy to share our knowledge with you on the product line, but also connect you with Chris himself to make sure that we can not only talk about the products that we're going to talk about today, but some of the different workflow solutions, which is a perfect segue to one of the reasons why I invited you here. We have a lot of exciting news to talk about with some new bundles that we put together, right?
That is right, Jim. I thought really specifically about who are our customers, especially in the overlap with you guys at Broadfield. And I just looked at what is an opportunity that is specific. And so we're talking about the Stream Deck Studio, which is our first professional product built for broadcast. But I look at the studios today, we look at all the in-store studios popping up, especially in different places, not just in these broadcast facilities, sometimes in corporate. And we know there's this just giant push to get into new kinds of Stream Decks. And for the people looking to get into Stream Deck, for our dealers looking to represent us, we actually have this cool starter bundle. It is a one to go, one to show for the Stream Deck Studio. We know from our past that dealers love to be able to have something that they could showcase and get something out when they can. That one to go, one to show, is just that amazing piece.
And I think our dealers are all familiar with the Stream Deck products. You can't be in the live production business or any kind of production workflow solution where you haven't seen a Stream Deck on a desk. The Stream Deck Studio that we're talking about today as the professional solution is in a rack-mountable 1RU unit. You can either throw that into rack with equipment where you need to run macros and production settings.
Exactly.
Or you can get a simple rack to put on your desktop to be able to control it as a supersized Stream Deck right from there as well.
100%. And it's PoE enabled.
Yep.
So it's easy to set up. Again, that 19-inch rack mount form factor. It's also not very deep. We'll get into the dimensions in a little bit, but you can push these into racks and have gear right behind it. It's really, really slim form factor. To your point, you can put it on a little turret on the desk and drop it in there. And I think as we start to see people using them in the field, you're going to see a lot of different kinds of setups, different kinds of ways it'll be applied.
And I think as opposed to the traditional Stream Deck, if you need more buttons, you add more Stream Deck Studios, you can really outfit your full production workflow just by connecting more and more of these together.
100%. I think of your engineers wanting to put a bunch of them in the rack. I think about some organizations like maybe the AV team at a corp where we're going to have to run what's going on in boardroom A, boardroom C, but we want a simple user interface that's behind the scenes that we can go push the buttons and control things that are not just cameras. Maybe they got to turn on the air conditioner. Right. Maybe we got to mute the microphone. So the opportunities and possibilities with the studio are a lot different than I think we see in some of the other forms of control, and that universal nature is what makes it look powerful.
Absolutely, and we're going to put a pin in that. We're going to come back to the Stream Deck Studio in just a moment. I want to get into introducing some of these exciting bundles you put together. The first of which are podcast bundles with the traditional Stream Decks that podcasters would put on their desk to be able to control their workflow. Tell us about what we're looking at here.
So we looked at the newest wave and what people are doing with podcasts, and we said, we want it simple, we want it easy. So we're giving you 2 Wave DX mics. We're giving you 2 Stream Deck Pluses, which can end up controlling that prompter, 2 mic arms, and then we have 2 bundle offerings here. One with our traditional prompter and one with the brand new Prompter XL. We're starting to incorporate that a lot in these productions where it's a podcast, now we have an ad. It's a podcast, but we need to talk about something specifically. And actually off to the side of me on my left, we have the Prompter XL in studio. So awesome. We really wanted to hammer home the ease of use. It has a simple application that you load up on the computer and then you're off to the races. And with that, plus the little dials you can go through and change the opacity. You can adjust the speed of how the text is moving. So everything you would need to sort of encompass that podcast setup from an audio and adding a little extra with the prompter.
That's awesome. And the podcast is such a huge market right now, whether you're talking about YouTube influencers or even a corporate AV environment. The podcast production in a corporate AV world is the way that a lot of these people are looking to drive their investment presentations, their regular week-to-week Zoom meetings, or any other production like that in that space.
You have a C-suite going to come in anywhere, because corporate could be in New York City, in LA, they could be in Florida, and they're going to want to come in and talk to some address. Like maybe it's the CIO who wants to go over, hey, we have this new protocol. We're going from Teams to this other service, right?
Yep.
With the prompter and the ease of use of the Stream Deck, they can almost run a lot of elements themselves. And if they need to slow down the prompter, there's a dial right there in front of them. This is where we see the cross-section of where Elgato's been in its simplicity and ease of use and getting in front of users who are not as technical.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest things to drive home from a system integration point of view. When you set up a Stream Deck for the talent that's coming in a podcast, they don't have to be a technical director. The technical director gives them access to the buttons that they need to be able to drive the show. And it really gives you the control of the production environment, which brings us into the studios.
Not everyone has to be a TD, but for people with my background, we also looked at the next level of production bundles.
Yep.
And so I know and you know, you've seen Stream Decks in these productions. So we included the Mark II, which is the traditional Stream Deck, the scissor keys, which is, I think, for our production guys, it has a different button feel, actuation that feels more like traditional controllers. So I don't have to be looking as I'm pressing. And then the XL, which has almost become the gold standard in live productions. And we're pairing those with the brand new powerful Stream Deck Studios to say, we know you guys are going to need some combination of these. Right. Interestingly enough, and I think a really cool selling feature, you can power the Stream Deck off the front of the Stream Deck Studio. So when you were talking about putting one on the desk, you could put the Studio, plug the Stream Deck in, and now you just enabled the whole set of macro control automation. Maybe one Stream Deck is doing something else, like controlling the monitors in the facility or the board. It's a lot of cool features, and we're giving that all in one nice new package. I thought, well, if I was getting one, what would I need? And this is what I would start.
Absolutely. And the way to think about these is the flexibility in the workflow. Again, you can have the panel sitting in front of the studio with one person having access to just the 15 or 32 buttons on those panels. Nothing else. Leave the ones in the rack alone. That's when the technical director to walk in. That gives you the next level of control capability.
Or let's think about the engineering team, right?
Yep.
Engineering wants to route sources.
Yeah.
Well, we work with a lot of different organizations and their products to be able to say, hey, we're going to control this router, route these signals. So your engineering team could have access to the studios.
Absolutely.
In a school space where you want to have multiple positions, now it's really easy to break out 3 different setups with different levels of complexity. Maybe we're doing some level of PTZ preset control. Maybe we have a little graphic station. So the idea here being we can interweave these guys and really showcase what we started with, which is Stream Decks in conjunction with each other and thinking about the whole Elgato ecosystem, because I know this is going to be important as people start to get their hands on the products. People start to see it in the field. Hey, can I add another one? Yeah, it's really easy.
Absolutely. And then from the studio bundles, we actually put together a mega bundle for a full production studio, right?
I thought about these people who want to blow out the budget and say, hey, we're going to do a whole overhaul.
Yep.
I want the best that can get in control. I want the best that can get at prompting. I want this all put together. And so we have the Prompter XL here with the Plus, the Stream Deck Plus, new control, and our 2 Stream Deck Studios to give us control of whatever is in our studio. And I think a lot about my different organizations, especially in the city, where they've had their setup probably since pandemic. It's about that time maybe they didn't make that reinvestment. They're looking for things that are useful but easy. And you cannot get more of that than what we're doing with Elgato and the Stream Deck and the Prompter XL.
Absolutely. And if you look at these bundles are all exclusively Elgato products. And when you look at a full production studio bundle like this, at coming in just over $2,000 at a resale price, it is a complete solution that allows you to bring a prompter and a control solution into a studio that you're working on.
You get sort of the best of all worlds, and you can really give that value to the customer and saying like, hey, part of this overhaul is it being a little bit easier to do these shows. And I don't think of this just for our production studios. We went over different environments. Absolutely. There's going to be corporate environments that are going to use this. There's going to be some live events that are going to use this stuff. And so I really look at this as, hey, getting it all together in one nice pack.
And these bundles are all set up on Broadfield.com. We'll have them in your email inbox shortly. If you want information, price sheets, anything on any of these bundles, reach out to your Broadfield sales rep at 800-634-5178. For our dealers who maybe have not had experience or have seen the Stream Deck Studio, Chris, let's talk a little bit more while we have you on that, on some of the technical features. We talked a lot about the different use cases and workflows. Let's talk a little bit more about the Stream Deck Studio itself.
So when we designed Stream Deck Studio, we had a couple of very straightforward ideas. It needs to be as versatile as possible. It needs to be IP first with that studio-grade of hardware. So things like PoE enablement, which traditionally wouldn't see in our Stream Decks, now is part of the Stream Deck Studio. We really wanted to streamline the workflows. And so we'll go through a couple of these features, but it's so easy to change from, let's say, our morning show to our afternoon show, for what's going on from boardroom A to boardroom B. We needed that real-time feedback, and we're actually in the pre-show having the guys in the studio here seeing that the Stream Deck Studio, as they're manipulating the switcher, is actually updating in real time. And what we sort of hammered home, which is it's scalable and that reliability that we could have a bunch of them. And I kind of look at this for our dealers and saying like, well, we know broadcasting, we know corporate and live events, like these are the places where we're gonna see studios. And a breakdown of all the different features, just as we outlined, that rack mountable Surface 19-inch, it's got 32 keys on it, which is that ton of different options. These knobs, these multifunction encoders can do some really slick stuff. I could have a speaker in my studio, just have a knob act as an audio control. Or I could have it be so I can switch through different profiles. Along with that, and this is something we normally don't see, is the NFC reader. So my engineer could actually go to the station, tag in, change the Stream Deck to be ready for the show he needs to, tag out, lock the Stream Deck. Now, no one could go in, twist, change, oh, I'm gonna control Studio C, or I could have my operators tap in with their cards and it automatically goes to the configuration. So a lot of different things coming from Stream Deck's DNA where we were working with, but applying some of that to what broadcasters mean. Yeah. And then that final little piece, as we talked about earlier, that front-facing USB-C port. Some people use it to charge their phone, but as we discussed, it's a good, easy way to chain another Stream Deck into your workflow.
Absolutely. And one of the things I love about the Stream Deck Studio is you walked in just a couple hours ago this afternoon. This unit is set up, connected to our TriCaster in our own studio. Nothing except the Ethernet cable running into our PoE switch. It really was set up that quickly and easily. Oh, and by the way, he set up the prompter while he was here as well. So this is all made to be a very quick and seamless integration into production workflows that you have going on already.
That's the truth. And I was working with the production guys here about, here's some ideas. The whole thing with Stream Deck, and I think where we really position ourselves uniquely is, what do you want to do? How do you want to work to your setup? On our current table here, we just have something mirroring a traditional program preview, but you could have this totally automated. When we were at NAD New York, I had something controlling PTZ cameras, my different MEs. I really sort of said, what would I want if I was sitting in the seat? And I built that, and that's the beauty of working with Stream Deck is, what do you want to build? And for our dealers, adding that level of customization, you could build specific workflows for schools, houses of worship, gov. You could go in and make all those tweaks and be ready to say, hey, here's this delivered final product. Everything's preset, go.
And I think that's the real value for the system integrator. A system integrator brings this into a potential customer. And the question is not, well, what does Stream Deck Studio do? The question is, well, what do you want to do with it? And Elgato can answer that question. Let's figure that out together.
I have been in that space now so much, just like immersing myself in technology, just what can't I do? There's so many things in our marketplace. There's so many things supported by different kinds of software, things that we make, organizations like BitFocus. It really is sort of a taster's choice of how you want to approach it. And I think about my time when I was a dealer working with customers. It's like, I want to present something that is specific, but with a little specific piece. I'm working with St. Mary's High School, throw the logo in the corner. And you'd be surprised that there's some major organizations today that are working with sports teams, configuring their workflow based on the team. So they have the team logos, push the buttons change to team colors, and now they know, hey, I'm working with this, this team or whatnot.
Yep, absolutely. And you mentioned BitFocus. Broadfield is working very closely with BitFocus now. You're going to talk a little bit about the button software, and Broadfield will be a source for that. Our goal when working with all of our vendors is to make sure we can complete as much of the workflow as possible and allow you to get the most out of something like the Stream Deck Studio.
I just wanted to go over really quickly just how thin the Stream Deck Studio is. We get that nice side profile. It's PoE plus. Now we do have traditional users who are used to Stream Deck doing things over USB-C. So to use that with the Stream Deck Studio, you need 2 USB-C connectors. All of that can be replaced by the PoE port, which we know our integrators are going to love. And then we talked about buttons.
Yes.
So quick little recap. Stream Decks got really popular in the field because of a software called Companion. Buttons is to what Stream Deck Studio is to Companion. So we went from Stream Deck to Stream Deck Studio, we went at a pro-grade product. Companion was a free DIY kind of software. Buttons is that professional software. So it's designed for our pros. It's designed to be smarter with a much simpler and easy to use UI. Because it's spatially designed, I could go through and set my studio up with different positions really easily. And there is access to different levels. So if I wanted to control a fleet of 40 Stream Decks, I could do that with one computer on buttons.
Okay.
Today with Stream Decks is typically, again, creator designed, right? Coming from Twitch streamers, YouTubers, they have a computer, they have a Stream Deck. But I'm in my broadcast environment, I want to control the whole fleet from one centralized space. That's what Buttons does really well. And in my experience, you could even put somebody who isn't super seasoned in the production in front of the Buttons UI and get some really cool, unique workflows. And so I always like to highlight Buttons because we know the dealers are going to be looking for something that's maybe a little bit more than what we do on Stream Deck software as is.
Yep.
Buttons is that solution.
And I think that's one of the big messages that you get with Elgato, with a broadcast type product like this, is the hardware is developed alongside the best software to operate it.
100%.
Anytime we see the integration of hardware and software together, it shows you the power of what that product is capable of.
And I've actually had a lot of fun working with the team at Buttons. I've been asking them all kinds of crazy questions for my production setup, and they've been nothing but patient. And we can sort of see it all put together here where they have that server, but on the left side, we have that studio experience where their Stream Deck Studios rack mounted, and there's a software being able to configure and control all those different setups. Again, it's such a unique tool to have in the arsenal of, hey, I need to control something that's a little more complex. I'm working with this kind of router, this kind of switcher, these kind of cameras. None of them are by the same manufacturer, which traditionally is a nightmare to solve. Yep. And now with Buttons in the Stream Deck Studio, I've got that nice flexibility and ease of use.
And I want to mention too, for our system integrators that are just getting involved with Elgato, with the Stream Decks, you don't all of a sudden need to bring a graphics design controller person on board.
No.
You don't need to expand your integration team.
Right.
With the use of the software and the initial setup from Elgato, you can really get these integrated into your workflows very quickly and very easily.
And if you didn't want to hire a graphic designer, like you said, on our marketplace, there's a ton of icons.
Absolutely.
You can configure this to be very particular. And Buttons as well has different icon setups. The whole idea is always customize it, make it look the way you want to look, and then make it so the user just has a couple of easy buttons.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about what this looks like in broadcast very particularly before we're done, Jim. And I'm thinking about my engineer in charge. Okay? We're going to talk to the engineer in charge. He's going to be like, well, I want to get a Stream Deck, but I'm thinking about this stuff. Well, I could actually do routing control, as we said, or I could replace a controller with the Stream Deck Studio because it's got 32 buttons. I could go through and use these different encoders to do things like configure my workflows, or if I wanted to go through and actually change the environment so that, hey, when we're working in Studio A, it's all green. When we're working in Studio B, it's all yellow. That dual function encoder also could be pushed in. That visual color coding really drives home the simplicity and ease of use. And we talked about the NFC to get those quick tap in, tap out. We all love PoE today. We want one cable to do everything. And so when we're talking with our broadcasters, it's just a lot of opportunities to say, hey, Stream Deck Studio can do this for you guys. And I don't care what I'm controlling, it will work.
Right, absolutely. Again, versatile, flexible. It can play into any production solution.
Yeah, I myself have fallen in love with it. We talked a little bit about my background. I've been using it with the TriCaster pretty exclusively because that's where I'm from. And also I'm doing things in the cloud.
Right.
Also, I'm doing things with routers that I never traditionally worked with. I'm kind of like constantly spinning the different ideas up and saying, like, what can't I do? And the answer has been, I haven't found a thing that I can't do. So, we come back to the final thing here, which is Stream Deck Studio.
Yep.
And I have, we have a long history together previously, but working with you guys at Broadfield, I'm so happy that you guys are representing this for the dealer channel because of what you guys are able to do. And, we'll hammer down that last point again. Call your rep.
And Chris, as often as I see you in studio, you'll always be Chris from New Tech. It reminds me that Broadfield also has a promotion running right now with any TriCaster system and a Flex control panel. We are including a Stream Deck Mark II for free. So take advantage of that deal. And one of the reasons we put that bundle together is because we know the control, even when you're getting a Flex control panel, that little Stream Deck on the side lets you do things very quickly and easily, and the key is really customized.
Yeah.
It lets you customize the hotkeys that you need at your fingertips in a very small device.
I think of the opportunities where maybe I'm just like I said, I'm going to have somebody else just controlling a second monitor interface, right?
Yep.
I'm in the stadium. Here's the board control. You can control what's on the board. I've given you 5 buttons. Right. I'm going to do the main show. I'm going to be doing the stream. I'm leveraging my Flex as much as I possibly can. But if you want to switch to camera 2, I made a big 2 button. Click that.
Yep.
Or you have your operators where, like you said, they just want some ease of customization. And the fact that it's visual, I can go through and make those little icons and say, this is what I need to do. It's my design. I think will really enhance any operators.
Absolutely. And if they do a good job, next week we'll give them 6 buttons.
Exactly, yeah.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions about any of the Elgato products, including the Stream Deck Studio, the Pronto XL, which is now shipping, I did say before that we have all of these things in stock. The Pronto XL may be actually sold back out. It was a super hot product, lots of pre-orders. We did get some units in. I don't know if there are any left. Work closely with your Broadfield sales rep. Give us a call at 800-634-5178. If you have not received the Elgato price sheet yet, let's start that conversation with you today. If you and your technical team would like training on any of these products, reach out to us and we can help get that going for you as well. Thank you for tuning in. Tune in every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you look at the holiday schedule, there's not going to be a lot of Thursdays left where we have Christmas coming up and then New Year's after that. We do have a show for you next week where we are going to be naming some of our top products of the year for system integrator. So be sure to tune in. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Great as always, Jim. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Broadfield Distributing is a value-added distributor of live production, streaming, video editing, and storage products. We only sell to resellers. We are always looking for new dealers. So call us at 1-800-634-5178 or email sales@broadfield.com. You'll like doing business with Broadfield because we make it easy to do business.